Hi colleagues, this is especially useful for any new grads out there. How to get your students' attention when you're coming back together as a class after some independent or group work. The key is to ensure that you do this from the very first lesson and then implement it in each lesson subsequently so that they are well trained. So I've got 5 to suggest, and you may have heard others in other rooms around the school that you're working in, and it's really good if the students are familiar with them as well. But you actually have to have commitment to the expectation that they will comply with your request. So you don't just go, you actually have to have a deliberate, and it's all about the eyebrows again, and you'll wait for compliance, and then you can move on with the lesson. So a rhythm echo, we use a 4-beat rhythm pattern in that sense, and don't finish on a TT. So ti-ti-ta is great, or ti-ti-ti-ti-ti-ta, just so that the echo is easier than ending on something faster. Secondly, you could do the ooh, and this is a great way of getting across any noisy activity where there might be percussion instruments being used, etc., or body percussion. And the idea is that the students echo once, and it's only ever to be initiated by the teacher. And you've got to really enforce that. Otherwise, there'll be echoes going off all over the shop, and students will think it's a great lot of fun. So really enforce that as well. The another one that some of my uni students have come up with is the Waterfall. Whoosh. So I've never used that in a class, but if some of your teachers do it in school, they could. So it's a more gentle way. The students are not going to hear that over the ruckus of a group practice session where they're in small groups with instruments and body percussion, etc. But it might be a calm way of doing it after doing a written activity, etc. For the little ones, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. And the kids go 1, 2, eyes on you. Evoking a response is a really great way of encouraging students to come back and comply with your request to get together again. And of course, just a hand up, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's more of a visual thing. So someone in the group would be able to see, oh, Mrs. Friend's got her hand up, etc. Okay, but remember that you have to expect and have that facial expression that you expect each person to comply immediately. Okay, happy teaching.